so glad you're here. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie getting underway here on EWTN Radio. Along with Debbie Georgiani, I'm Jerry Usher. The show team is here, Michael, Jeff, and Ryan. And you're the, at least at this moment, missing ingredient, but we know you're going to want to call in and have a participation in today's topic, Debbie. Looking forward to a interesting conversation with our listeners today.
I think it's going to be very helpful for us to kind of look back a little bit and also see where we are today. And we're asking the question, what was the worst advice you've ever been given? And tell us why. Why was it bad advice? So give us the worst advice you were ever given. You don't have to, let us know the names or details. Just generally tell us, you don't want to get anybody in trouble or anything like that. So you just want to tell us what the advice you were given, what happened, and then now you realize that was really poor advice. So we want to ask that question. You will see how this weaves into our spirituality, how it weaves into our Christian faith. Here's the number, 833-288-3986. Please fill up those phone lines.
Yeah, well, it's virtually impossible, I guess one could do it, to go through life without receiving advice from others or giving advice to others. And, of course, people who give us advice, they're well-meaning, their intentions are good, and they really think that the advice they're giving is going to lead us down a beneficial path. But it doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes it does. Sometimes we get great advice, but maybe it was a business deal or a purchase that you were advised to make. Maybe I'm thinking of, in my situation, Debbie, I think the worst advice I've ever been given, there was a kind of a startup tech company. This goes back 20, 25 years. And a friend says, "Oh, you got to do this. I'm buying some stocks in this. They're really cheap." So I think I got like $2,000 worth of stock, and it went absolutely nowhere. It was gone. It was worthless. In just a matter of months. So that may be, for me, one of the worst pieces of advice I ever got.
Yeah, and I'll share a couple that I was given through my 55. I have to whisper that 55 years. But I've been given.
You're young
some
yet.
Thank you. I have more lousy advice to follow, right, Jerry? But you know what? It's interesting when you look back. But, we're here today. We're sitting here today, and we've learned, right? And we've grown. And so we'll talk about that. Yes, we could have gotten really bad advice, but what did we gain from going through that experience? It might have been very painful. But, and sometimes we talked about this as we were getting ready for the show. Some very well-intentioned folks around us may be trying to give us some loving, caring advice, and it really is not, because it hasn't been maybe taken to prayer, not proper discernment. So there's all sorts of factors we can look at when taking advice, utilizing advice, rejecting advice. So let's talk about it. Give us the worst advice you have ever been given in your lifetime, okay? 833-288-3986. And as I say every single show, Jerry, so please, folks, if you listen to us on a regular basis, don't get tired of us saying this, because it's good news. This is good news. We have brand new listeners each and every day. How do we know that? Because we get the comments. Okay, so I'm going to share for our brand new listeners. You do not have to be Catholic to call in. Please call in. If you hear the sound of our voices, that means you're part of the Take Two family. You just don't know it yet, but you are. So come on in, 833-288-3986.
Yeah, there are some other ways you can get on the program if you're outside North America. It's 1-205-271-2985. You can text the letters EWTN to 55000. Might be a small data rate depending on your plan. If you're watching the video stream on YouTube or Facebook, hello, greetings to you, and you can comment right there on the social media platform. You can email take2@EWTN.com, and you can even post a comment at take2show.com. So regardless of your gadgets that are available to you right now, you have a way to get a hold of us with your comments or your takes on this topic.
Absolutely. There's so many ways to reach us, and we want to hear your takes on this. That's what Take Two is all about, taking another look at life, and looking at things that are going on from different angles, and taking a fresh look, all sorts of ways. We want to look at this from, you kind of turn that crystal, just a little turn, and it reflects a different light, has a different angle. That's what we want to see. And so you are the teachers here. There's 2 open phone lines. Come on, you guys, fill them up in the next 3 minutes. Let's go. Don't wait any longer. 833-288-3986.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to your takes on this topic today. Just a quick mention of tomorrow, too. Before I forget about it, Debbie, we're going to talk about consecration to St. Joseph, all about St. Joseph and his role in the church, in the world, his role in your life. If you are making the consecration to St. Joseph, maybe you already have, we're going to have, I can't wait, Debbie. This is going to be such a special conversation tomorrow. And many people are making the consecration tomorrow on the Feast of St. Joseph. So that's coming up for folks tomorrow on tomorrow's program.
And on the Skype video, is that a St. Joseph statue you have behind you?
It is, yes.
Wow, it's beautiful. Is that an indoor statue or outdoor? I can't
it's
see
indoor.
it.
It's about
Indoor.
a foot tall, yeah.
Wow, that is beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
It's probably imported from Italy. I'm just joking. That's for our friend Matt in D.C.
Yeah.
He made the comment, not everything's about Italy. No, I understand. First of all, my family's from Sicily, so there you go. It's still Italy, but you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. Anyway, you're a mixture of many different ethnicities, correct?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of embarrassed to say that I don't really even know my family history all that much. I have a brother who's very into that, and he shares certain details with me and the rest of us once in a while. But yeah, I think probably somewhere in Europe we came from.
Oh, very cool.
Like so many people.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, one open phone line. We want to hear from you. The worst advice you've ever been given, and tell us why. Okay, and we want to you got to keep it kind of like the Reader's Digest version, because sometimes these advice stories can get quite lengthy because there's all these different aspects of it. We understand that, so kind of condense it. Give us the the real gems of everything, and also the real red lights about the red flags that you saw when you were given this advice, or maybe afterwards. The number to dial is 833-288-3986. Who's going to get that last phone line, Jerry? Who's going to get it?
Well, I don't know who's going to get that one, but we have Kurt and Robert and Maribeth and Roman and other calls being screened by Ryan Penny right now. It is an active conversation. It's about to get even more so here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. The worst piece of advice you were ever given and why, and hopefully we all learn through that. 833-288-3986.
I'm Jeanette DeMello, Editor-in-Chief of the National Catholic Register, and together with Matthew Bunson, I co-host Register Radio, where every week we talk to the Register's writers and editors about the news you need to know, and offer authentic Catholic insight on the important stories that impact your life. Join us for Register Radio, Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern and Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, here on EWTN Global Catholic Radio.
60 on 10 with Monsignor Charles Pope.
The 10th commandment, you shall not covet your neighbor's goods. This commandment is similar to the 9th because it uses the word covet, which means to inordinately or inappropriately desire something. And therefore, related to this are concepts that are familiar to us, such as greed or avarice, which is the undue passion for riches and power. Likewise, envy and jealousy are related here. In jealousy, you have something that I want, but I want it inappropriately or excessively. Envy, however, is a very dark thing because it wants to destroy that which is good in another person because it makes me look bad by comparison. And so in all these ways, the Lord is asking us to look very carefully to our desires because they can grow too expansive and lead us into very grave sins. The 10th commandment, you shall not covet your neighbor's goods.
For more about the 10 Commandments, visit EWTNRC.com.
This is your show, Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I'm Debbie Georgiani with Jerry Usher, and we probably should change the name of the show to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you, because you are the key person. You're the ones who lead the show. You teach us. We learn from you. It's pretty amazing. But real quickly, Jerry, before we get to the full phone lines here on Take Two, which we love, I just wanted to highlight something real fast. EWTN Radio is available on smart speakers like Amazon Echo, Google Assistant, and others. For example, you can listen to EWTN Radio just by saying, Alexa, ask EWTN to play Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and she will comply. hopefully.
Well, we hope so, yeah.
Well,
If
mine,
not, we'll
I
have to have a
told
talk with Alexa.
Yeah, well, I told you, mine's been in the closet for years because she just doesn't listen. And then she listens when she's not supposed to listen.
Right, right.
She has a mind of her own. She's a free spirit. It's all good.
All right, well, let's see what's on the minds of our callers today. Take two with Jerry and Debbie. The worst piece of advice you were ever given and why, and what came of that. Maybe you learned a valuable lesson. Kurt is first in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. I hope I said that right, Kurt. Woonsocket, Rhode Island, listening on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Kurt.
How are you? How you doing, Jerry and Debbie?
Hi, Kurt.
The worst advice how you doing? The worst advice I've got was basically concerning this, quote, pandemic that we're going through. And the reason that I say it was because, okay, this is a virus, and I've been doing my research, but to make it short, I found out the virus, basically, for most age groups, you have over a 99% chance of recovery from it. But yet these vaccines that come out, quote unquote, which aren't vaccines because they've never done a live test on animals, and therefore we are the test under emergency circumstances. And what bothers me is we're told we need to get this vaccine to basically save ourselves from this, quote, pandemic, even though we have over a 99% chance. I won't get into all the particulars because we've all been hearing it. But the psychological effects and everything else, I mean, in my gut feeling, I've talked to many priests, and there's one priest that stands out, says, you know, people come to me for advice, and he says, do your due diligence, because this body that is yours was on loan from God, so therefore take care of it. So I look at the best way to do things is to say, in the beginning, I try to say the smell test, my common sense, and I say there's something wrong with this. And we've all talked about the moral issues of aborted fetal cells, and we know what the USCCB came out and said, you can take this and that and the other thing, because you won't be, quote unquote, responsible for the killing of a child and therefore using the vaccine. And we're split in the church over this. So there's confusion. So when something that is told to the public, we should need to be clarified. The other side of this is what's in this, quote, shot literally readjusts your DNA, where now you're going to be exposed to future viruses because the DNA that God gave you is now being manipulated. So there's a lot of layers to this advice, but it seems we're supposed to forget that. But yet, when you hear from the pulpit and from anyone with authority, oh, it's safe to take this. But in essence, it isn't, because we're the, quote, guinea pigs of this. My point is with the nanotechnology that's in this, with how it attaches your DNA and how it readjusts your DNA, and we don't know the outcome. To me, that is very dangerous advice and very bad advice. So I say, do what we've always done in the past. We've always washed our hands, and we know what to do as adults. But yet, we're psychologically affecting many generations, scaring them to death, giving them a guilt complex on so many levels. I would call this, yes, very bad advice. What say you?
Well, Kurt, first of all, I just wanted to say you definitely, we talk about this all the time of due diligence, really doing your research, exploring everything, talking to experts, and it sounds like you have done that. And this is just my personal opinion, okay? When death occurs, and we have had, hundreds of thousands of deaths around the world, right? When death occurs, it sets off a very strong fear Because let's face it, down deep, whether we want to admit it or not, consciously or unconsciously or subconsciously, we have this fear of letting go of this earth, of dying, right? There's that little bit of that fear. What is it going to feel like? What does it mean? Where are we going? What happens next? Am I going to leave all my loved ones behind? So when all these deaths occurred, whether they were actually attributed to COVID, or it was COVID was part of it. It doesn't really matter. The point is those numbers petrified people. And people had family members that died. We had the nursing home deaths. We had, my mother's in a care home, and I was petrified because I didn't want her to experience anything that she couldn't handle for her body. So when you have this 4-letter word, fear, okay, and it's driving everything, people will go along because they'd rather be with the masses of people than to be on their own, struggling with these fears. And I tell this to everybody, and I do life coaching, Kurt. This is what I say to everybody, because this situation with everything that's going on in the world keeps coming up. It's not just COVID, it's other areas too, is that I say, do your due diligence, do your homework, do your research, and make the best decision for yourself and your family. Okay. And that's what we need to do. I respect that the authority of priests, say certain things, but I'll tell you, Kurt, I could line up, 5 priests on one side that say, don't do it. And I could say, and 5 on the other that said, go do it. Okay. So, so you can't really go by, you have to really go what you know about your research, what you know that relates to yourself. And I would go in that direction. That's what I'm doing. That's what my husband's doing. And I pray people do that instead of just listening to the masses kind of, pounding our ears with the same message, because we don't know if that's an authentic message that they're giving us. What do you think, Kurt, real quick? And then Jerry has some really much more profound comments.
Okay, let me respond to that. Basically, yes, you're right. But when you hear from the pulpit, you're hearing from authority. When you hear from the Holy Father, you're hearing from authority. When you're hearing from governors and presidents and whatnot, you're hearing from authority. And we have to look in the past. We have to look at history, because if we don't learn from it, we'll repeat it. This is what they did in Nazi Germany. We know this. Mm-hmm. But if I say what I need to say under free speech of this country, I am told to be quiet and the guilt trip. All I'm trying to say is, you have a soul to save. There are many different ways to keep your body healthy with therapeutics. Mm-hmm. Hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, and so on and so forth, vitamins and whatnot. But when you talk to people, they say, I might as well do what they tell me. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole key. And I think at the end of it all is they're trying to move us all, like you say, with fear, with the psychological manipulation. Mm-hmm. This is what to me, it's almost demonic. This is why I even told a priest, and I'll end with this. I says, Father, you wonder why our numbers are declining, but yet you scare people and everybody throws a mask on. Why don't we really preach that God is present in those tabernacles, and there is a heaven and a hell? And we need to understand that. That's our top priority. Mm-hmm. That's all I would have to say.
And Kurt, I just want to say something real quickly, and Jerry can attest to this. When the COVID when we first got news in March, everything that was happening, Jerry and I spoke, and I said to Jerry, we need to do what Poland has done in our churches. We need to up the masses. The masses need to be 17 round the clock masses, so that everybody can go and we can have small numbers go. And instead, the church chose, to go where they limited, the chance for us, a lot of us, to go to mass, because they listened to the governors and stuff, and a lot of governors didn't even put that mandate on the churches. So I agree with you on that sense. I think that knee-jerk reaction can be very problematic down the road, and we're seeing that now, because I think the latest reports that came out, some people are really feeling comfortable staying at home watching mass, streaming it. So we didn't do something right. And one other thing, I just have to say this, Kurt. I used to be a spiritual director for many years. I still do it a little bit, but not much. I used to do it almost full time. And I can tell you this, Kurt, when you talk about the hierarchy of the church, I've had people come to me that are in severely physically abusive marriages, and they were told in the confessional by a priest to stay in the marriage because that's their sacrament. Okay, so that was poor advice, Kurt. That was poor advice because that person used that as a little counseling session, and they really shouldn't have. So the priest saw one angle of it, gave really bad advice. So all I'm saying is bad advice has been given before by our church authority. That's all I'm saying, because that's not church teaching, Kurt. That's opinions. That's people's. That's what frustrates me. There's church teaching that doesn't change, and then there's people's opinions, and that takes into effect human error. I just have to say that. What do you think, Jerry? You could disagree
well,
with me
I
or
can't
agree
add
with
a
me.
lot to that, Kurt. I really appreciate your thoughts on this. I think this, of all things, should be looked into very, very carefully. The due diligence, the research. And every person should have the right in their conscience to not get the vaccine if they don't feel that they should. We were listening to the end of John at Williams' show right before this. We came on the air, and her guest, a doctor, said, we should fight hard against any kind of a mandate, because this is, like you said, this is very experimental. There have been many deaths that have been miscategorized. They're categorized as COVID deaths that people died from something else, but with COVID. And the media, we've got a media that are just, very one-sided on all of this. So I think it's a great topic of discussion. We thought about doing a show on this, but, it's just really, it's kind of a lightning rod for a lot of people. But we appreciate your take on this, and I think we probably share the position that you're taking.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you so much for bringing it to our attention, and again, to do the due diligence. I love that statement. Do your due diligence. No, really, seriously, because you don't want to do it. You don't want to walk into something, blindly. If you're going to walk into something, walk in eyes wide open. Right, Jerry?
Yeah. My philosophy is, this is, like Kurt said, this has not been tested. It's experimental. And, there could be, we don't know yet. God only knows. But there could be some very, very disastrous results from this. It could be that it helps eradicate the coronavirus. We just have, it's still an open question. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Worst advice you've ever been given and why? We're going to go to Mary Beth in Marietta, Ohio, listening on Alexa. Hi, Mary Beth. Welcome.
Hey, Mary Beth, our friend.
Hi there. How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Doing well.
Well, my topic's a lot more lighthearted than the last topic. When I was a young mother, and this was 31 years ago, and I had a little girl, her name was Chelsea, and she was having trouble with sleeping, where when I would lay her down, she would start crying, and she just always wanted to be held. Well, my mom is just such a gentle soul, but she gave me the worst advice. She happened to read a book. It was called, I remember because she gave it to me too, Healthy Sleep Habits, Happy Child. And in the book, they say that you just let the baby cry and cry. And I tried it one time, and of all places where I tried it, we were traveling, and I was at my mother-in-law's, so she probably thought I was the worst mother ever. But I tried to let Chelsea just cry it out. And the poor thing, when I went and got her, she had gotten sick in the little crib. And I just felt terrible, and I never did that again. And, the pop checks, I listened to them recently, and they mentioned that it's important to respond to your child quickly, not to let them cry.
So your mom
I did not follow that.
Yeah. So what advice did your mom give you to let her cry?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't let my babies cry. I always, because my dad was really big on just pick them up and they, and it's interesting. But here's the thing. Are we really ever given, a parent manual for each individual child? Every child is a little different. It's really hard. I mean, you didn't do, you did the best you could, right? And parents, when they give their advice, they're telling us from their perspective, and also it's their grandchildren. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying, but I know my parents used to tell me things, and I'd scratch my head and I go, but that's not what the book says to do.
Well, in this case, the book wasn't what I needed to follow, But I think God gives us, instinct, and it
Right.
went against my instinct to have my little baby crying so hard. And, she's 31 now. It didn't hurt her that I let her cry that one time, and it didn't hurt that, I was responsive from then on. I'm going to squeeze in another one real quick. Real bad advice when I was
Mary
6
Beth,
years
Mary
old,
Beth,
my sister-
hold that thought just for a second. Forgive me, but we're less than a minute away from a pause that we have to take for our affiliates. But we do want to hear this other example that you're about to give. So pardon me for barging in there, but we do have to do this. Take two with Jerry and Debbie. The phone number, we have a line that is open. We're talking today about what is the worst piece of advice you've ever been given and why. What did you learn from it? How did it change you, perhaps? 833-288-3986, 833-288-EWTN. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you. Thank you, affiliates, for carrying the show. Thank you, show team, for all the great work that you do. We're going to be right back to take Mary Beth's second example of that, and we've got Nick and Robert and John as well.
The words of Blessed Carlo Acutis.
Our soul is like a hot air balloon. If by chance there's a mortal sin, the soul falls to the ground. Confession is like the fire underneath the balloon, enabling the soul to rise again. That's why it's important to go to confession often.
Hi, I'm Debbie Georgiani. Jerry Usher and I have created a team of amazing certified life coaches with you in mind. We would love to assist you on the journey of life to help you live life to the full as the Bible states. Visit us at standtalltoday.com for Christian life coaching at its finest. Initial consultations are absolutely free. Sign up soon at standtalltoday.com.
It's time for Family Man with Dr. Gregory Popchak.
Every day, men are bombarded with messages that to be a real man, we have to buy this, do that, or act this way. Men, are you listening? You're already a man, and you're manly, because that's how God made you. Pope John Paul II's Theology of the Body reminds men that just by possessing a man's DNA, you are encoded with God's spiritual and physical gifts of masculinity. Yes, you can always work to become a better, a godlier, stronger, or gentler man, but no matter how badly you fail or how much you struggle, nobody can take your manliness away from you. Masculinity is a God-given gift, planted deep within each man, and while it can always be developed, you don't have to earn it, and nothing you do can make you lose it. I'm Dr. Greg Popchak, but you can call me Family Man.
To discover more ways faith can enrich your life, visit CatholicCounselors.com.
Hi, this is Dr. David Anders. Are you curious about the Catholic faith and need answers? Called to Communion is the show for you. Today at 2 p.m. Eastern. Now back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
We're talking about the worst advice you've ever been given on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and we're speaking to Mary Beth in Marietta, Ohio. And Mary Beth was talking about how her mom gave her advice for her daughter about crying, and the book said something different. And the advice we get really does impact the way we act, and so it's important that we do, check those sources. That's a good thing about advice. You can take it or leave it, right, Mary Beth? And you were going to share another example of that, so go right ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna squeeze a real quick one, and this one is very silly. I'll warn you that. I was 6 years old, and my sister was 4 years old, and she's the one that gave me the advice. We were enamored with bubble gum, and we happened to go to bed with bubble gum one night, and we're in our bunk beds, and I didn't want to take my gum out, and she didn't really want to either, but she told me that we could take it out and put it behind your ear, and everything would be fine. So my mom had to give 2 haircuts the next day.
Oh, no. It's glue. Yeah. It's glue, Mary Beth. Wow.
Isn't that terrible?
Oh, my goodness. Well, you had cute little, what do they call those little pixie cuts, right?
Yeah, I did have a pixie cut.
There you go. There you go. Mary Beth, God bless you. You're a great mom. You're a great daughter, and you love your family, and we love you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for letting me tell, too. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
You're very welcome. God bless. Yeah, we need to take a lesson from shoes, right? How shoes react to gum. And that should be a good lesson for us about
Ooh.
putting it behind our ear or something, right? Doing
Do you know
anything with it. Huh?
that's one of the things that bothers me. It's terrible. I always have Marty check his shoes because people in Arizona, when you throw out gum, it melts into the, because that's how Arizona is. And I'm always having Marty check his shoes because that's one of my pet peeves. It drives me crazy. Shoes on, gum on.
No,
yeah.
I don't like it either. No.
Oh, you don't either? Oh, good.
No.
I'm not the only one. Okay, so we're going to go back to the phones. We heard from Mary Beth. Thank you again. And Robert has been waiting so patiently in Washington, D.C. Guadalupe Radio Network is the way you're listening. Hi, Robert. Welcome.
Hello, Robert.
Hey, how are you? Debbie, I'd never heard that you were Sicilian before. Do you know where the family's from in Sicily?
Yeah, Gedami, Sicily. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Okay.
It's like CERAMI. I'm sorry?
Okay. I'm looking into citizenship myself. I found out my grandfather naturalized after my dad was born, so I can become a citizen. So
yeah, that's the same thing with me, Robert. That is so cool. You know what? Email me and I'll share some things with you. We have a wonderful priest friend, Jerry and I, that we're mutual friends with, and he did the same thing and got dual citizenship.
Awesome. What's your email?
It's take2@EWTN.com. But go ahead and share with our worldwide audience about the worst advice you've ever been given, Robert.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so I'm in college at the time. This is years ago now, but affected the trajectory of my career and everything else. Long story short, friend of mine stole the magnetic car sign from a seamstress that had messed up all my sewing that she did. And he thought it was funny, and I was just like, oh my gosh, she was really nasty. She was cussing at us and giving unkind gestures. And so at the moment I thought, okay, kind of funny, but he took them, I didn't. And unbeknownst to me, I lived in a college dorm. Police came looking around, and my roommate's like, oh, yeah, here you go. I'm like, what's going on? Well, they said, when I called the police, they said, oh, yeah, well, just, come down. It's not a big deal. You just have to come down, and we just want to talk to you. Well, they trapped me. And I showed up there, even though I was not the one that did the stealing. And the next thing you know, they're asking me these questions, taking my fingerprints, and I'm charged with a misdemeanor. And at the time, it was extremely difficult to get a pilot slot in the Air Force. There was no funding. You had to have the best grades, the best scores, the officer's qualifying test, all the other aptitude tests had to be spot on. It was super difficult to get in. And I got hit with this and lost the chance to finish up Air Force ROTC, get in as an Air Force pilot, which had been my dream forever to fly. I was going to school for aviation already, and that was the end of it. And stupidly, connected to that, my friend, well, there's going to be a court date. I got trapped by the cops, which I should have immediately sought legal advice and said, this is entrapment. You said to come in and just return the signs, and all of a sudden I'm taking the rap for my stupid friend. And he goes, well, just go to court and say that it was you, because I want to be a lawyer and I can't have anything on my record. So just misguided compassion, misguided everything in that regard. And as I thought about that, I'm like, I kind of thought I was done with the sadness and the guilt of some of that and kind of ruining what I thought should have been a trajectory that I was going to go on, that I wanted to take in my career. And I was like, no, I'm actually still kind of disappointed, upset about those things that I did, those choices that I made when he could have taken the rap instead of me. But how did it change me? I still have all kinds of compassion for folks, but now that I've been Catholic my whole life, but now that I'm closer to God the compassion is much more directed towards, is this the right thing? Is this a righteous thing versus, let me figure this out myself. Ask the Holy Spirit, ask for guidance, the angels and the saints, my guardian angel, etc. So it took a while, but that's how it changed me. I can look back at that and go, oh my goodness, it was like a mafia thing. The colonel in the Air Force ROTC told me, he's like, that's like a mafia decision. Oh, hey, don't rat on your buddy. Well, you didn't do anything wrong, and you just flushed your Air Force pilot career down the toilet. And I was too young and unfortunately not as close to God as I am now. Maybe I dodged a bullet. That wasn't meant for me, I guess. I still served in the military and otherwise, but pretty bad decision and pretty bad advice to, just come on down and return the signs. That's all you have to do.
Right. Well, Robert, Debbie, and I are both very, sorry to hear about this, kind of the way that you weren't able to proceed with the career path that you wanted. Hopefully, you've been on a different and fruitful and rewarding career path. I know it's kind of easy to say and kind of trite sometimes to say that God had something else for you. But I'm sure that you've looked at it that way. And I think, that you share, you're in great company when it comes to people taking a fall for somebody else. I'm thinking even of many of the saints who did that. My patron saint, Saint Gerard, actually was accused of, I don't remember exactly what it was, but he simply didn't put up a defense. He was so pious and holy, and he just said, you know what, I'm not going to defend myself against this person. And he was later, vindicated of that. So the key is, you're closer to God now. And that, to me, is, I think, a real key element in all of this. Debbie, what do you think?
Well, Robert, we have a ministry called Stand Tall, and TALL is an acronym for Take Another Look at Life. We're certified life coaches. And you can find us at standtalltoday.com for everybody that's listening. But, Robert, I look at it this way. First of all, there's a great lesson here, a lesson in forgiveness for your friend. I mean, I threw my hands up over my face if you're on video, Robert, and I was like, I couldn't believe that your friend let you take that fall. That is just so sad. But you're right. You guys were young and all that, everything transpired. But I look at it like this, just maybe your career in the Air Force may have gone not well, or God forbid, you could have died, you could have lost your life or something. So maybe, everything, it happens for a reason, and we go with that, and it's how we look at it. Because I mean, not in the same category, but I look at the same way with me I played golf since I was 4 years old. Okay. That's all I knew. And I was given very bad advice at 18 years old, and I quit golf overnight. But I look back now, and that life, although I would have, that's what I was, quote unquote, brought up to do. And probably I would have made millions, right? Maybe if I was good at it, maybe, I'm just saying, okay? Or had some kind of book deal or whatever, that happens with these professional athletes. But I look at the life, and it may not have been what I needed for my spiritual life. So Robert, you're in a beautiful spiritual place. And so I would switch it and shift it in your brain and be grateful that it happened, even though it's sad and very sad that you didn't get to live out something that you wanted to do. I'm the same way with the golf. I didn't get to live it out. I watch golf all the time. My heart aches sometimes when I watch it on TV. But we're in a great place. We have the Lord. Amen, Robert?
Absolutely.
I love it.
I look forward to maybe retiring to Sicily and going to a church from the year 900. And I just love the history there. And so I do see the blessing, because I met a wonderful wife.
Yep.
And I still gave the man a lot of years and went to a lot of places around the world. And it was just, it made me think about that again.
Good. And I'll make you a deal. My husband and I will join you and your wife in Sicily for that dinner, okay?
Awesome.
Okay.
Best seafood. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, no, I know.
I look forward to it.
You got it, Robert.
Oh, my goodness. And
All
don't
right.
forget the cannolo.
Oh, yeah. Well, stay in touch, okay? Take two at EWTN.com. Thanks,
Thanks, Robert.
You can join too, Jerry. Jerry had a look on his face like, what about me? Jerry, you can join
what
too.
about me?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll yes, absolutely. You're part of the Sicilian family.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Honorary member.
Yeah.
Okay, John has been holding on for a while as well in Lubbock, Texas, listening on the EWTN app. Hello, John. You are on the air.
Hi, how y'all doing?
Pretty well, John. How about you?
Not bad, not bad. So probably one of the worst pieces of advice, and I don't want to say worst, but like in life it was pretty bad. I was like 12 or 13, and I remember my pops told me, nobody waits to have sex till marriage. That's weird. Nobody does that. And so, okay, chastity's stupid. Nobody's doing that. That's weird. Like, that's just a weird thing people are still doing. Like, that's dead and gone. And now, looking back on life now, that was a mistake. Chastity's gone out the window, and so has modesty.
Mm-hmm. Well, go ahead, Deb.
No, you go right ahead. You had something.
Well, yeah, Robert, that, it's certainly unfortunate advice, to say the least. But you mentioned chastity, being pure and all of that out the window. Yeah, in our culture today, that is really a prevailing mindset, and it's really not correct, as we all know. It is very, very important. In fact, a good friend of ours, Jason Everett, who's a chastity speaker, he works with a lot of young people, especially even high schoolers, who have lost their virginity, so to speak, and their hearts are really aching and they're broken. See, they're longing for true love, but they're mistaking that kind of an action with authentic love. So I think you obviously, sounds like you've gained some wisdom from that, John. Is that fair to say? Are you there, John?
Right on. Couldn't have said it any better, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. I don't know if you want to weigh in.
No, I just want to say it's so sad when I hear that, John, from parents or even grandparents or friends or neighbors or aunts and uncles, when it revolves around sex or drugs or anything else, when they kind of just say, well, that's what's happening in the culture, or go ahead, you can have a little drink at, underage drinking or something, or you can have a little hit off this joint or something like that. It's really, it's sad to me, because I think people go into it going, okay, well, I guess it's okay because this person that loves me is saying it's no big deal. But it's that it snowballs, and it's a slippery slope, and it just gets us into a place where our minds we get clouded. And it's just, it happens though, John, a lot in families, a lot. You'll get an older brother or sister that'll give really poor advice to their younger sibling, similar to that. And then it just starts, and it's a life that we have to learn from, and we have to pick ourselves up and realize, that really probably it wasn't the right path for us, especially on a spiritual level. But John, thank you so much for sharing that, because there's a lot of families listening right now, and it's important that the things we say, it does have an impact on our kids and our relatives. So thank you.
Thank you. So I will say, though, while it might have been the worst advice, it also may be the best advice, because now I know what not to tell my kids when I have them one day.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Amen.
Lesson learned, John. That's going to have that may go throughout many, many generations in your family, that wisdom that you have learned from this. So thank you again for the call. We appreciate that very, very much. Nick is up next, but I want to mention before we go to Nick that Word on Fire is available on EWTN Radio Sunday afternoons at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. You may know Bishop Barron. He is bringing the faith to us in many, many beautiful ways. And Brandon Vaught, they're going to discuss this week parts of the Old Testament that depict God commanding the Israelites to massacre entire populations, every man, woman, child, and animal. How should Christians make sense of these passages, as they seem to present God as angry, vindictive, and genocidal, contradicting the New Testament presentation of God as loving and merciful? That's on this week's episode of Word on Fire, Sunday afternoon, 4 p.m. Eastern, on many of these same EWTN stations.
Jerry, we got a message directly for you. It came through me. Well, it came through my phone to you. Our Stand Tall Lois sent a message, said she would gladly go as your bodyguard to Italy for that dinner. Excursion. Good. Okay, there you go. All right, Lois, you're in. And when we go to Sicily, we'll be calling you. Mm-hmm. I love how the text messages come into my phone for Jerry.
Right, isn't that funny?
Am I your personal assistant?
No, you just have the phone numbers of more listeners than I do, I guess.
Okay. Where are we going next? Nick in Wisconsin?
Nick, yeah.
Sirius XM 130. Hi, Nick. Welcome.
Hi, thanks a lot. I just wanted people to realize that not all advice is given orally. A lot of it's given by example. And I grew up in an emotionally abusive household, and my parents were really the Lockhorns. I never really saw them work things out peacefully together. And I'm a little kid, and I'm trying to figure out what it means to be an adult. And for the longest time, through their bad example, I came to the conclusion that to be an adult means you can never change your mind. Unless you play the game. Well, what's the game? I guess it's the other party has to nag and complain and complain and nag and nag and complain and complain and nag until you give in and let the baby have its bottle, through not physical abuse, but, angry outbursts, kind of a deal. And I unfortunately was taught to disrespect my father by my mom's actions. And sadly, I missed out on a lot of wisdom, a lot of beneficial coaching. He was a very smart guy. He didn't finish high school, but he went through, World War II. And I didn't realize that, my dad was actually an eagle, and I was trained through bad example to treat him like a turkey. And, what I'm just trying to say is that as an adult now, I'm trying to end all this dysfunction in my family, going forward, certainly, and did the best I could to raise my kids. But it's very humbling to realize that, we all hold the keys to our own jail. And believe it or not, astonishingly, the door isn't locked. We're holding the jail cell closed with our clenched fists. We're afraid to let go of the door. And if we ever did, through letting go of fear, the door would swing open. And then what do we do? Holy cats,
Yeah. Wow, Nick. Well, sorry about that experience you had growing up. And you're right. Not all advice is given with words. A lot of advice is given with actions. It just shows a couple things that come to my mind. The importance, parents, the importance of, kids, Debbie, you typed over, they're like sponges. And that's really the case, because who are parents in the eyes of kids? They're almost like God. They look up to mom and dad, and they if mom and dad do it, then it must be right. It must be good. It must be the thing to do. And what comes to my mind, Nick and Debbie, is St. John Paul II developed what is called the theology of the body. It mainly has to do with human sexuality, but it really talks about what we do with our bodies, the actions that we make. Those things speak very loudly about us. So we actually can let a lot of who we are be made known to other people just by the way that we act. So I think that was Debbie, you want to add anything to that?
Well, no, that's excellent. I just wanted to say we do spend a lifetime, Nick, after being with in our families growing up, because our parents, their parents need to realize they're it's kind of like they're on stage all the time, and there's an audience. And the audience is their children they are really trying to process what is happening. And see, we take that into our adult life, and we make a choice, right, Nick? We either say, okay, I'm going to be like my parents. I'm going to do it the same way because it seemed to work out good for me. Or I'm going to say, I'm breaking that cycle. I'm going to do the exact opposite. But any which way you look at it, we're still held with a lot of these beliefs and these false narratives that are going around in our head from our childhood. And it does take time to process. That is why, Nick, I will tell you that counseling and coaching and spiritual direction, it's on the rise. And it's great because people are speaking and learning about that. And I actually wrote down what you said, Nick. I thought it was fabulous. We hold the keys to our own jail, and actually the door is actually really open. There's, you don't need to unlock it, but yet what's beyond that door? Very interesting. So it sounds like you've given a lot of thought to this, and I think your take on this today has been really most helpful to others. It was helpful to me because I could relate. What do you think?
Thank you. No, just a great program. I appreciate it. Are you guys in Wisconsin? Is that where you live?
No, I live in Arizona, and Jerry lives in the great state of California.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, but I love Wisconsin
Right.
because you have the Marian Apparition Shrine there.
Yeah, and actually Holy Hill, have you ever been there?
No, wow.
No, Holy Hill's wonderful. And for your listeners, their Lourdes Grotto it's an outdoor grotto that during the season when it's not winter, they have a 2,000-gallon holy water tank.
Wow.
And I was actually put to shame a few months ago because it was a lady from Illinois, and she was filling up. She took 30 gallons home. She had 6 of the Culligan 5 gallons, and I was only taking a measly 10 gallons home. So I used my daughter's powerful squirt gun, which shoots 50 feet, and I was able to kind of shoot the outside of my house with holy water up on the roof line and everything. And you know what? We're just all trying to make our homes a little less attractive to evil.
True. That is cool. Jerry, we have to make a note of that. Maybe we should do our next pilgrimage to Wisconsin.
Yeah, that would be great.
All right.
Our call screener, Nick, has sent a message over here asking, has Nick ever heard of the term Wisconsin nice?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure what that is either.
Well, you're very nice, Nick. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks.
Bye now.
Appreciate the call.
God bless you. What a beautiful call.
Yeah.
We're running out of time.
Yeah, it's getting short. Let's go to Jessica. If we can get to you, we'll try. But Catherine was right before you on the line in Buffalo listening on Sirius XM 130, first-time caller. Catherine, got about 90 seconds, please.
Hi, Catherine.
Hi. It can be very quick. I can definitely do 90 seconds. I was engaged when I was 22 and married when I was 23. And the worst advice I was ever given was somebody had said to me, it is good that you are marrying young because you can get that first marriage out of the way.
Oh, no.
Oh, my.
Oh, no.
And my husband is a practicing Catholic. I am a practicing Catholic. And this May, we will celebrate our 20th wedding anniversary.
Amen.
So that first marriage is still going.
Praise be to God. Praise be to God, Catherine. Wow. Wow. That probably takes the cake right there. What do you think?
It does.
Yeah, no, yeah, congratulations on 20 blessed years and ad multos annos, many more years, Catherine, for you and your husband. We appreciate that. That's just wrong. You know, if somebody says that to somebody, I mean, I don't know who said it. I don't know the person, their background. It could have been somebody who had been, through a number of marriages. I don't know. But, the thing about that is it's not fair to people because,
it sets
it doesn't
it up to fail.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but maybe that little seed is planted in the back of somebody's mind or in their memory all the way along, and then a little bit of a challenge comes into the marriage, and all of a sudden you're thinking, wow, this is supposed to be my first marriage. Maybe it's not supposed to work out.
Right. But look at Catherine's going strong. God bless you, Catherine. You and your husband, many blessings. But that definitely takes the cake. That is probably I think the worst advice that if I've got that would have been. Yeah, that's devastating. Jessica, so sorry we're not going to get to you. You hear the music. Please email us. We'd love to hear your worst advice that you were given. Take 2 at EWTN.com. Tomorrow is St. Joseph's Day. We're going to be celebrating and honoring this great saint, and we're going to be talking about the consecration of St. Joseph, Jerry.
We are. Maybe you're going through that consecration or already have. We want to talk about that and how you've grown closer to St. Joseph and your devotional life to him has increased. We're going to talk about that tomorrow on Take 2 with Jerry and Debbie. Until then, have a beautiful and blessed day, and St. Joseph, pray for us.
Dr. Ray Gurendi, making a commitment to the wives. When the show's on, put the radio under your husband's pillow. The percentage of yes dears will rise. The doctor is in next.